You know how many immigrants have affected my life? None. Latinos, they voted for Trump. I have a serious question for y'all. Why? Why would you side with a group of people that hate people that look like you and sound like you? And no matter how much you try to assimilate, you're never going to be them. No matter how light-skinned you get, you're not going to be them.
Hello guys, welcome once again to AfriPost. I hope wherever you are, you're having a great time. Now, Latinos for Trump and many other Latinos who are not in the camp are crying out loud saying that Trump ICE raids are only targeting brown people. They are only targeting Latinos and not going after black people. This question is really disturbing them because the kind of devastations that they have seen under the protests that they were having in LA is really surprising them. This is a man they voted for. Why is it that he's not really sparing them? Yes, this is what some people call FAFO, because they elected Trump. They need to really live by the outcomes of the election and decisions. What do these people say? I want us to watch this clip where some Latinos were speaking and they got response from black community. Let's watch this, then come back and share our thoughts.
I don't want to hear another white person say the word illegal for the rest of my goddamn life. We are living on stolen land. Our ancestors forcibly and violently seized this land from the indigenous peoples who were living here for generations before we ever showed up. We do not get to call them illegal. We don't own the fucking planet. Nobody does. We are evolved monkeys with opposable thumbs who use them to write little monkey scribbles on a slice of tree, and we call it a birth certificate with our little monkey sounds. All of it is made up. None of it is real, and it doesn't fucking matter. And it's certainly not a valid reason to rip a terrified, screaming child away from his weeping mother. And I am tired of being made to feel like I'm crazy for being angry about this. Capitalism is just narcissism as an economic system. Imperialism is just narcissism as a foreign policy. If the lion can't claim the safari for himself and call the elephant illegal, then neither the fuck can we!
To break it to you guys, but you're not starting a revolution by throwing blocks of cement at ICE agents while they're driving and while also blocking a federal bus on the 101 freeway in LA. You're not doing anything but besides putting people in danger, and you're being really fucking annoying. I don't understand what's with people thinking they can block a moving vehicle. And why are you on the freeway? Is their liberal logic? Yeah, I'm gonna bring my kids and my toddlers to a riot and a protest to hide behind them like a shield. Because guess what? A little kid got pepper sprayed. Would you look at that? They're literally walking on the freeway. The 101 freeway in LA, by the way. So if you live in California, you know, holding Mexican flags. I mean, you can't make this fucking shit up. Every time I see these riots and these protests, you never see an American flag. You see every other flag for another country. It's so fucking weird.
They're deporting people at deportation protests. Is this what you voted for?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is exactly what we voted for. For someone to take action for once. The National Guard has been deployed. I heard rumors of the Marines getting deployed. If that happens, I don't even know. It's time for these people to stop thinking they're invincible. Also, where was this fight when Obama deported 3 million illegals? And their mayor is literally supporting terrorism at this point. Everyone that keeps saying we're a country of immigrants, yeah, legal immigrants, not illegal, legal. The people who waited years and years and years and did this the right way, they should be so damn offended right now. This isn't even a protest anymore. It's rioting. Not only that, but the mayor withheld support for the law enforcement that were in danger. Arrest for treason at this point, federal charges, as well as the people who trapped ICE agents. I stand with ICE.
Trump is going to war with California and specifically Los Angeles. We didn't vote for this. We don't want this. And we want ICE out of our state. See, here, the majority is the minority. There are friends, there are neighbors, there are loved ones. And quite frankly, we don't want them loaded onto buses and disappeared. And the reports that were coming in that ICE is detaining law-abiding families who are seeking asylum in the Roybal building without food or water are horrifying. ICE isn't looking for criminals. They're going after people at work, at high school graduations, anybody that they can find. ICE knew exactly what they were doing going into primarily immigrant communities and then didn't let LAPD know that they would be conducting mass-scale raids, and then complained that LAPD wasn't there to help them maintain peace. And Trump now sending in the National Guard is only going to escalate tensions and exacerbate the situation and possibly give him the ammo to actually declare martial law. The federal government is using the National Guard to try to scare and intimidate Los Angeles, and I can tell you one thing, Los Angeles does not stand down.
Y'all take the whole immigration side out of this, because some of y'all can't get over the whole immigration side of it. I need y'all to understand what is happening right now. Against the wishes of the governor of California, the president of the United States has federalized National Guard troops to put down a protest in California against what the governor has directly asked him to do. This is not one of the biggest protests we've ever seen. This is not some major protest. There is nothing to warrant this level of escalation, and we have never seen something like this in modern American history to do this against the wishes of the governor. This is a dangerous precedent to let be set. I need y'all to look past the immigration side of this and understand what is going on. The president is deploying military forces to put down a protest. That is what he is doing. And if that is allowed to become the precedent, if we do not protest this now and call this out and condemn this, if this is allowed to be set in stone, this will happen again. And the requirements and that threshold gets lower and lower every time it happens, until it becomes the norm that anytime there is a protest, the military gets sent in. And do you know what type of government you get to when the military gets stepped in? Anytime there's a protest, think about what type of government that is. Let's just say we have invaded countries that have gotten to that kind of government before, and we are now perpetuating that exact thing here in the United States. Nothing about this. I don't care about the immigration side of it. That is a red herring that doesn't matter. The truth of what is going on is that the president of the United States is currently using military forces as a policing activity against the will of the governor of that state. This will happen again if it is allowed to become precedent, and that requirement, that threshold, like I said, it gets lower and lower and lower every time. And you may think it doesn't matter now. What if something happens that you don't like? All right, the government should never be using military forces to stop people from expressing a First Amendment right to freedom of speech and freedom of protest. I don't care that there has been some violence in the protests. None of that justifies this level of escalation that we have now seen out of the federal government. This is a dangerous thing to do, and it is going to get even worse soon.
If you're planning on attending a protest against the ICE raids, you need to be flying an American flag and an American flag only. Put away the Mexican flags, put the Palestinian flags away for right now, and only fly an American flag. The optics here are incredibly important. The news is going to be covering this from all angles. They're going to be taking a ton of pictures. These pictures are going to end up in history books. The entire nation is going to be watching this unfold. The world is going to be watching this go down, and it needs to be incredibly clear who it is that our president is deploying the American military against. This is not America versus a Mexican invasion. This is the American military against its own citizens. The military against its mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, aunties, uncles, cousins, and its neighbors. Make it very clear who it is that the military is being deployed against. And change your language. Now you're going to start chanting things like save our country and defend the Constitution.
You know how many immigrants have affected my life? None. Latinos, they voted for Trump. I have a serious question for y'all. Why? Why would you side with a group of people that hate people that look like you and sound like you? And no matter how much you try to assimilate, you're never going to be them. No matter how light-skinned you get, you're not going to be them. And I know a lot of y'all are going to be like, oh, it was the economy. I am making more now than I was when he first came into office, and I'm still not doing better. Actually, I was doing better the last 4 years. Things actually started to get better. Now it's going right back down again. That's another topic. Don't say it's the taxes. Don't say it was, Joe Biden's taxes, because we're under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. You want to see who created the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that started in 2017? Yeah, there we go. You read that right. You know when that expires? 2025. So you've been under it. And he just renewed it and just gave the rich people more of a tax cut. But y'all knew that already, right? Is it that you think you're better than others? Do you think you're better than other Latinos because of your status? Because your American status? Especially if you come from countries like Cuba, Dominican Republic, Colombia, Venezuela, Argentina, any of those countries. If you think you're better than other Latinos because you have American status, then that's crazy. Because I'm Puerto Rican. I am an American citizen regardless. I can't get deported. If they send me to Puerto Rico, it's like I'm going on vacation. But the rest of y'all that are looking down on other Latinos because of your status, yo, shame on y'all. Seriously, shame on you. It's got to be a self-hatred of yourself or your people that you're looking down on others. Oh, well, I came here the right way. You know what? Everyone can't do it the right way. Everyone's circumstances are different. And you know what? There are people out there that are doing it the right way and they're getting shitted on. And instead of you helping them get more help to fix their status, you're trying to get them kicked out. That you should be ashamed of. So once again, Latinos, they voted for Trump. Why did you vote for Donald Trump?
I'm going to give my opinion on what is happening in Los Angeles right now solely for the reason that I think it's a more rational take than what is happening on either side of the aisle right now. And I'm going to start this off by saying that yes, I did vote for Trump, I did vote for a safe and secure border, and I did vote for law and order. However, what we are seeing right now with this deportation process is a lot of law and not so much order. Believe it or not, it is possible to have an opinion on having a safe and secure border that does not involve dehumanizing people in the process. That being said, the left has been cosplaying this dystopian society for years, to the point where they are now performing it. They have convinced themselves that we are living in movies like The Hunger Games and Divergent and The Purge. They've been yelling and screaming and tweeting and posting all over social media for months about how the first thing that Donald Trump does when he becomes president is he's going to declare martial law on all the citizens. And I guess they got tired of waiting, so they decided they're going to make that happen themselves. Like, in my opinion, what's happening in LA is right now is giving this attitude of like, we've been cosplaying in this movie society for so long and it doesn't feel real enough, so now we're going to make it feel real. They're out there in LA right now literally setting fires, shutting down traffic, throwing bottles of their own piss at people, literally creating the same chaos that they keep warning everybody about. And here's the kicker. When the police finally do step in, when the National Guard is finally called in, your whole attitude changes. All of a sudden, it's gone from burning cars and waving Mexican flags and doing all of this crazy nonsense to the most peaceful process you guys have had in the last 3 days. Now, am I crazy? Or maybe was it necessary to call them in order to calm you guys down? And then you guys try to spin these narratives that, I'm going to be honest, they would have gotten me 2 years ago. You start posting things like, they're tear gassing babies. Look at this baby that got tear gas in the face. What that tells me is that one of two things happened. Either somebody brought their baby to a riot, to a protest where they had no business bringing children to, or you were bringing the fights to places where innocent people could be just walking down the street and could be harmed by your behavior. I hate to break it to you, but the more likely scenario is not that you're being attacked. The more likely scenario is that you brought the fight to someone else's front lawn. You brought the fight to a place where innocent people who wanted nothing to do with it are now involved. And then you guys try to hit us with the, where was martial law when January 6th was happening? I don't know. Why don't you ask Biden that? Why don't you ask Kamala that? Why don't you ask Nancy Pelosi? See, you guys want to keep screaming fascism so loud, but you guys couldn't even see it when it was staring you directly in your face. All of you guys were so focused on what Trump was doing over here, which, by the way, when January 6th happened, he told everybody to march peacefully to the Capitol, and when things got out of control and people called on him to ask them to stop, he did exactly that. He posted on Twitter asking them to stop, and he got on live TV asking them to stop. Meanwhile, you had people like Biden, like Kamala Harris, like Nancy Pelosi, like all of Congress that were busy doing nothing, saying nothing. Or how about when 2020 was going on in the middle of COVID, when the government told you that it was okay for you guys to gather in large groups and go protest and burn down businesses for BLM, but you couldn't go visit your grandmother in the hospital when she was dying? Where was the outcry about government overreach then? Because in my opinion, it was way out of line for them to say that you can gather in large groups and go protest whatever you want and spread COVID like crazy, but I can't take the risk on myself and go visit my loved one in the hospital. And at this point, you guys need to get a grip, because this isn't a rebellion and this is not revolution. This is is what happens when people get so addicted to their own narrative that they try to force reality to bend to match it. You guys spent the last 4 years prophesying fascism, even though you couldn't see it when it was already staring you directly in the face. And now that it hasn't happened, you guys are cosplaying the collapse of America just to make yourselves right. You want to know what the real dystopia is? It's watching people like you try to justify putting yourselves in harm, putting law enforcement officers at harm, putting the victims at harm that you claim to be advocating for, and putting innocent bystanders at harm just to pretend like you are living in this revolution reboot that nobody asked for. We are not in the Hunger Games. We are in the delusion of validation, and watch out because it's coming to a city near you.
If you're still not convinced that fascism is an issue in the United States, you need to look at what's happening in LA. Trump literally called in the National Guard on protesters in LA to disrupt them and to use tear gas and rubber bullets. National Guard is a reserve of the armed forces, and the entire goal here is to protect and defend the homeland. Newsom and other people in California actively said that they do not want people to come in and police. He is sending 2,000 people with tactical training and giant military weapons in to disrupt. That is literally going to put fuel into the fire and make things blow up even more. People are getting injured. They are literally having to pour water and other milk into their eyes because they can't see. One of the core principles of fascism is trying to shut down dissenting opinion. And I can't think of a better way to do that than calling in a fucking military branch. The American people have a right to protest and stand in solidarity with immigrants, as well as Palestinian people. This is infringing upon our fucking rights, and this is serious. So if you see this video, please share it. Stand together, join local protests, and call your fucking representatives.
Okay, breaking news. Donald Trump is deploying Marines to Los Angeles.
CNN can now report that roughly 500 Marines are being mobilized in response to the protests in Los Angeles.
And in this new move, active duty military members are being deployed as a show of force against U.S. citizens.
Okay, I want you to think about that last sentence. Active duty military are being deployed as a show of force against U.S. citizens. That's what we've come to at this point. That's what the Trump administration is doing to make America great again. You know, when Elon posted that tweet about the Epstein list, I saw a few people who were like, don't pay attention to this. This is a distraction. They're trying to distract from something. And then all this popped off in LA. And I couldn't help but think, I don't know, guys, I think this is the distraction. I think the shit in LA is the distraction. I think he didn't like that news cycles and headlines were about the Epstein files and people going like, what's in there? And he knew if he sent ICE in a major way into Los Angeles and made a lot of noise, they wouldn't stand for it. And then he just gets to go, see, these liberals and these wokes in LA. And he's such a power-hungry fiend that he doesn't give a fuck about sending armed military against his own people. America not looking so great.
I'm so fucking done. I'm done. I'm back from my little break ski because I'm just so fucking done. I don't want to see you go to fucking Malibu Farmers Market on a Sunday morning. I don't want to see you go to Rodeo Drive and buy a bunch of fucking shit right now. Are you fucking kidding me? Wake up. Wake the fuck up. How are you supporting these influencers? Seriously, I need to ask you a question. If you support an influencer specifically who lives in LA right now and you were just supporting them going about their normal daily business, their day-to-day, their pastries and their coffee and their Pilates yoga, like what the fuck? What the actual fuck? Families are being ripped apart just based on the color of their skin. Just because these fucking officers who are pretending to be ICE, no one actually knows who they are because they're just masked and in God knows what clothes, are taking them because they deemed that they don't belong here. But you're okay. You're at Pilates. You're at the farmer's market. You're doing great. God forbid you said a goddamn thing. But no, all your followers think that you're a Kamala supporter but you're not. And you never have been. And if you don't speak out, you are a shitty person too. Not only are you a Trump supporter, you're just a shitty person. Do not follow influencers who are not speaking out. Do not support influencers who are not doing the right thing. I have to make this exact same video every couple months because you idiots are still out here being like, well, I think they voted for Kamala. If you did not specifically say, I hate Trump, I don't support Trump. You say it with your heart if you feel it. Anybody who does not support Trump has no problem saying it with their heart, okay? Just listen. Listen to what these idiots are saying. And it is not okay to go about your daily life, to be selling things on the internet, to pretend everything is fucking okay when it's not.
My grandfather, a first-generation American, a descendant of slaves and people who escaped famine in Ireland, did not risk his life every day for years flying fighter planes to defeat the Yahtzees so that people who are like his father could be terrorized by ICE on the streets of Los Angeles, the city he loved.
There are not riots happening right now in Los Angeles. I am going to repeat. In Los Angeles, I am here in Los Angeles. There are not riots happening. There have been a couple of violent situations that have been started by protesters, but the majority, thousands upon thousands of protesters have just been peacefully protesting, well within their rights. The fact that Trump and all of these people keep saying that there are riots in the streets is so misleading and dangerous. This is not like the Rodney King riots. This is not what is happening here. We did not need to be saved or bailed out by the National Guard. We are nowhere close to that point. By Donald Trump overstepping his authority in deputizing the National Guard, going around Gavin Newsom as the governor, is inflammatory. Bringing in military is inflammatory. I just want to say as well, for those who have been violent during protests, please stop. Because they will take, just like they're doing, they will take the few incidents that occur, which are wrong. They will take those and highlight just that. They're not going to show that most of these protests are 100% peaceful, or that the cops or the military or the National Guard or anybody, that they're the ones escalating things by firing rubber bullets at reporters, firing flashbangs, firing pepper spray. Protesting is within our constitutional rights.
All right, this is not good. Marines are being deployed to Los Angeles, and I can tell you as a Marine myself that the primary mission of the Marine Corps Infantry is to locate, close with, and destroy the enemy by fire or maneuver, or to repel the enemy's assault by fire in close combat. Marines are not trained for this. The Marine Corps is not a tool, is not a force, is not a weapon that you use on civilian populations, on protesters. They are not trained for crowd control. They are not trained for the use of non-lethal force. But this is where we are. This could very easily go badly. Very easily go wrong. The National Guard, the U.S. Army, this is a case where they are much, much better suited for this job.
Listen, y'all keep saying the government would never do that. You don't think the government would stir up violence just to justify control? They already have. They've done it several times throughout history. In the 1960s, the FBI would infiltrate peaceful protests and turn them violent. They would have agents start fights. Then they actually gave the Black Panthers some pow-pows and then raided the Black Panthers, assassinating Fred Hampton in his sleep. That's just one example. Also, in the 60s, they lied about an attack in the Gulf of Tonkin. That started the Vietnam War and cost thousands of lives based on a made-up event. CIA funded literal terror attacks in Europe as a part of Operation Gladio. This was all to get people to beg for control. Are you starting to see the pattern? Because LA, ICE raids that turned into protest, that turned into a violent protest, that turned into an insurrection, that needed the National Guard on the ground, that needed the Marines on the ground, that now needs more National Guard on the ground, even though the governor and the mayor both say, you tripping. you just trying to overextend your power. The U.S. government has incited violence in the past. They are not above it. They will do it again. What makes you think LA is any different? My point being, please don't take the bait. Please remain patriotic but peaceful. Even the LAPD was not warned that the Marines were coming to LA. This is all a performance. This is not about protection. I'd be remiss if I did not include that Max Azzarello told us this was coming. He said the collapse would be manufactured. But we can get into that some other time. I'd also be remiss if I did not say LA pop your shit. Gavin Newsom pop your shit. Proud of y'all.
Good morning. Here's a fucking hot take for you. Sometimes being on the right side of history requires you to be on the wrong side of the law. Every single person in Nazi Germany who not only refused to snitch on their Jewish neighbors, but some of them even went so far as to hide them in their own homes from the Gestapo, every single one of them were criminals. In the American South pre-Civil War, every single person who helped enslaved people escape to freedom, they were all criminals. So if you support all the ICE raids that are currently happening around the country and your argument is, well, this should have followed the law, all that tells me is that you 100% would have snitched on Anne Frank and you 100% would have turned in runaway slaves. ICE is the modern-day Gestapo. The only difference is that the Gestapo actually had the balls to show their faces. If you do happen to be in Los Angeles and are participating in these protests, please stay safe out there, because you know that law enforcement is going to take any opportunity that they possibly can to escalate the situation and then blame it on you guys. In the words of one of my mutuals on here, Pissed Off Bartender, yeehaw, fuck the law.
I've been trying to find a politically correct way to say this, but I just don't care to try and find it anymore. The gist of it is that I just don't give a fuck if someone is here without documentation. It does not affect me in any way, shape, or form, just like it does not affect you. It doesn't mean anything. It's a minor violation of the law, if that. And when I found that out, I got even more livid about why people make it such a big deal than I already was before. It is such a minor thing. And why Trump and Elon are doing their little lovers quarrel right now all over social media is just to continuously distract you from the shit that actually matters. Because if immigrants don't have due process, none of us do. You should care about that. That actually does affect us. The National Guard being deployed on its own citizens does affect you. You should give a fuck about that. But someone's documentation status, you should not care about. It does not affect you. Neither positively nor negatively. It is literally such a neutral thing that should not matter. If we are the greatest country in the world, why do we not want everyone to get to enjoy it? But we're not. And you all prove that on a regular fucking basis. Please, think and care about something that actually matters. And leave the fucking immigrants alone. Immigrants are what make this country great. I can guarantee you that.
What a serious complaint they are having there. So let us talk about what is going on here. Some Latino supporters of Donald Trump, particularly those aligned with the Latinos for Trump movement, have expressed feeling of betrayal and confusion following aggressive ICE raids that have impacted their families and communities. Many of these individuals supported Trump due to his promise of economic revitalization, religious conservatism, and strong national security. However, when ICE raids disproportionately targeted Latino neighborhoods, including those of legal residents or mixed-status families, some began to realize that the administration's immigration enforcement was not as selectively applied as they had hoped or assumed. The betrayal lies in the assumption that political loyalty would offer some form of protection, which it did not. These feelings of being duped stem from the belief that support for Trump would shield law-abiding Latino citizens from the broader effects of his harsh immigration policies. Some in the Latinos for Trump movement tried to distance themselves from undocumented immigrants or criminal elements in order to align with the administration's rhetoric. Yet, ICE raids often swept through Latino communities indiscriminately, affecting families regardless of immigration status. This made clear that racial and ethnic profiling played a central role in enforcement, rather than target criminal investigations. The supporters' sense of disillusionment reflects a deeper misunderstanding about how race, power and policy function within federal systems of control. A common question raised among these disillusioned supporters is why Black Americans are not subjected to the same kind of enforcement tactics by ICE. This question, though often based on flawed premises, reflects a misunderstanding of how immigration enforcement differs from other forms of policing. ICE is tasked specifically with immigration violations, which disproportionately affect Latino populations due to proximity, language, and historical immigration patterns. Black Americans, the vast majority of whom are citizens and whose ancestors were forcibly brought to the United States, are not within ICE purview. This fact often gets misinterpreted as preferential treatment rather than a difference in legal status and federal agency jurisdiction. This misunderstanding also reveals an undercurrent of racial resentment that has long existed in United States politics, where minority groups are pitted against each other. Rather than interrogating the systems that enabled ICE to operate with such impunity, some disillusioned Latino Trump supporters redirect their anger towards Black communities, asking why they are spared. In doing so, they overlook how Black Americans face different but equally oppressive forms of state violence, such as over-policing, mass incarceration, and voter suppression. The pain these Latino communities are experiencing is real, but the solution lies in solidarity across communities of color, not in misdirected blame or resentment. Recognizing that all marginalized groups suffer under systems of racial control is a crucial step towards collective liberation. So that is what really sums up the entire thinking that should be taken when it comes to looking at why Blacks are not being targeted by ICE, as most Latino for Americans are claiming. Tell me down in the comment section what you think about this. And if you're watching us for the first time, please consider subscribing to the channel, like the video, and share. Thank you, and let's meet on the next one.